Not all open world games require a gaming console. In fact, there's an abundance of open world games for mobile devices that come out on a daily basis. Hello everybody and welcome back to another video. Today on Mobile Game Zone, we're going to be looking at some of the best, biggest and most visually advanced open world games of 2022 to pick up and play on your cell phones for free. And number one from earlier in June this year, and although this is just a somewhat open world game, but nonetheless, as I'm speaking, actually one of the most visually advanced mobile games on the market. We have here something called Car Simulator San Andreas, technically a driving sim and a racing game to an extent, and with a decent amount of content for its type. The game, obviously, if you couldn't tell already, takes place in San Andreas. It's pretty much a Grand Theft Auto game, except you can't really leave the car. But instead, you get to drive a very diverse pool of visually advanced cars and some really good controls as well. Take a quick look. Coming up behind that, and from roughly a week ago, we have something here called Earth Revival, a science fiction based open world survival multiplayer game that actually takes place in the year 2112 on this destroyed version of Earth where the future has become pretty rough due to some intergalactic conflict with aliens and stuff. The game is mostly exploring, building, surviving through a huge open world against AIs and other players as well. The good thing about it is that it is going underway a beta right now and releasing at its full sometime next year.
We tried to catch the gunman.
If we're going to take down Bane, we're going to need Lucius funds.
At number 3, I would say there's a good chance that you've already heard about this one, but just in case. We've got The Dark Knight Rises MOBO, one of the more visually stunning superhero games compared to the usual daily releases of open world games, and there's a good reason for it. It's actually made by the old Gameloft developers who's known for their class action remastered sort of versions of games. Now, I wouldn't usually diss a game if I didn't have to, but this is not a really good game. In fact, I wouldn't recommend it to anyone except if you are a die-hard Batman fan and you really have the urge to waste your time playing one. Game's actually got tons of missions, a huge world, and you can even use vehicles.
I sent Blake and some men to infiltrate the military base in the hopes of securing some firepower, keeping it out of Bane's hands. Lost contact with them a few hours ago.
I'll head over there.
Careful.
Moving on, we have actually from only days ago, and still, I have no clue where this even came from. We have here with us, first off, just one hell of a third-person, post-apocalyptic, open-world and role-playing game going by the name Project 56. This is surprisingly actually by the huge mobile developers NetEase. It is available on the Play Store now, or was, taking you about 4 gigabytes of space. The game's all the way free, it's still in its beta however, and this is how it really works. And number 5, well, we have something here called Vice Online. Frankly, this is one of the best games in general and not just in the open world field. This game has been around since a couple of months ago and has so far gathered north of 1 million daily players and a very good review score as well, on both platforms as well. Long story short, I would say if you do enjoy the concept of a Grand Theft Auto game, this is probably the closest bet you get to have hands on. It even takes place in LA and Miami. You can even play the game online. It has a huge world too, and it'll take you about 400 megabytes of space. At number 6, and this has actually been around since December last year, but only in China. So we have here once again with us, well, for those of you new, Tower of Fantasy, which is an open world, well, technically MMORPG that's been in development for the past 4 years, and now available as a cross-platform support online game since August this year. The game's actually got over 5 million active players, it gets regular weekly updates as well, it is addictive as hell, with only probably one problem. It'll take you down about 10 gigabytes of space. Alright guys, now Big City Life Sim at number 7, actually from the same creators of Clash of Crime. I'm pretty sure some of you already know, it's a big developer out there. We have this time from all the way back in 2017, and I'm gonna be honest about it, despite the fact that it's downloaded over 10 million times and it is sitting on the Play Store with a 4.5 score out of 5, it's a pretty rough game. It plays pretty rough, it has a rough gameplay, and actually struggles on a lot of mobile devices as well. Other than that, it is a tremendous effort of a Grand Theft Auto clone that will take you less than 100 megabytes of space, so keep it in mind. At number 8, and this is also just another quick mention mainly because the game has actually released around the same time with the previous game in 2017, and it's a pretty good, almost amazing sort of Mafia, bad man's in the street killing clone sort of sim. Well, something going by the name Gangster Mafia Crime City, not to be mistaken with the Gangster Crime Mafia City. However, the game throws you in a version of New Vegas with full of gangsters, cops and special forces and soldiers, a huge map, and all playable offline. Moving on, we have CarX Street, literally the best looking racing game that came out in 2022 and actually landed on the mobile devices. Because it has been a long time coming and the game is just fine-tuned to perfection at its current state. Now, believe it or not, CarX Street is actually still in development for PCs and consoles and it'll come out next year, but for mobile devices it is actually out. It'll take you 700 megabytes of space. This is actually in-game footage. Check it out. In case you missed it, and do make sure to use the link down in the description for it. At number 10, well, we have Police Patrol Sim, which is just the old typical Law and Order police sim, but actually made in a way that feels pretty much like a Grand Theft Auto game where you can earn respect, build a reputation, and eventually unlock new stuff like weapons, vehicles, and even characters. The game is pretty big in scale, and somehow it'll just take you down less than 100 megabytes of space. It has been sitting on the Play Store since last year, it's downloaded over 10 million times, and it has a very good review score as well. Now, Sky Children of the Light, on the other hand, and I'm pretty sure most of you are already familiar with this one, but just in case, Sky is an adventure, offline and online open world game, and by the same developers of Journey and Flower. The game actually originally came out for the Apple arcades only, and now it is playable totally for free on Android devices as well. It is honestly perfectly adapted to touchscreens with a controller. It is on a whole other level. It has some beautiful visuals and a soundtrack that matches the rest of the game as well. Check it out. At 12, well, it is technically the oldest game I've ever mentioned in the list, Oddworld Stranger's Wrath, which is an action-adventure open-world first and third-person player by EA Games that actually used to be a Microsoft exclusive too. Now, the good thing about this game is that ever since 2005, when the game originally came out, Stranger's Wrath has been passionately upgraded for this specific version, and it just works perfectly with or without a controller on your cell phones. The game is not free, it'll cost you about $3, but will definitely give you something to remember in return. Moving on. And last but not least, actually from June this year, we've got one of the few superhero games that have been coming around recently that legitimately works pretty good. Something here called Green Rope Hero, which is obviously a lot like a lot of games in today's list, except the game's pretty fun. You get to go through a hefty variety of cars and vehicles of any kind to just ride around with. You can even use a rope like Spider-Man. The game is bug-free, there is some ads, but nothing you couldn't avoid by playing offline. So give it a shot.